Ever found yourself in a situation where you just had to know the truth? Well, in Kenya, that's where a private investigator can step in. But what does hiring one actually cost? Today, we're going to break it all down. Let's dive right in.
It's a huge question, right? Because the answer isn't just about shillings and cents, it's about getting that peace of mind, or maybe protecting your business, or even getting the justice you deserve. So let's actually try to put a number on it.
And here it is, the bottom line. You could be looking at anywhere from a cool 15,000 shillings all the way up to $250,000 or even more. Now that is a massive, massive range. So what on earth causes that price to jump so dramatically? Let's get into the factors.
It really all boils down to 4 key things. If you can get a handle on these, you'll understand exactly what you're paying for.
First up, and this is the big one, is the type of investigation. Think about it. Running a simple background check on one person? That's one thing. But what about a complex corporate fraud case? That's a whole different universe. You're talking about field operatives, specialized tech, and a mountain of legal paperwork. Next, you've got time. And in this business, time is literally money. The clock is always ticking on your bill. A lot of surveillance work, for example, is charged per day. So what seems like a quick one-day job can suddenly get really expensive if it stretches out over a week or more.
Location, location, location. It matters here too. An investigation right in the heart of Nairobi is pretty straightforward. But what if you need a team sent out to a remote county? Well, now you're paying for their travel, their hotels, and sometimes the extra risk involved. All of that gets added to the final bill. And finally, you have to think about the end game. Is this information just for you, for your own peace of mind, or does it need to be solid enough to hold up at a court of law? The second you say court, the price goes up. That means forensic-level reports, proper documentation, and maybe even expert testimony. It's a whole other level.
Okay, so with all those factors in mind, let's kind of look at the menu of services. This is where we can see some real numbers for the most common types of private investigations you'll find in Kenya.
Just look at the jump in these prices. A basic background check might start at 15 grand, but if you're trying to trace hidden assets, you could easily be looking at $250,000 shillings. And a serious fraud investigation, well, that starts at 120,000 and pretty much has no ceiling. This table really drives home how much the complexity of the case dictates the final cost.
Let's zoom in a little on surveillance, because it's such a common request. That daily rate, 30 to 80,000 shillings, isn't just a random number. The final price tag depends on a few things. How many agents do they need on the ground? What's the risk level? And do they need special gear like long-range cameras or hidden tracking devices? All that adds up.
And even inside a single category like background checks, the price can swing wildly. A simple check on an individual is one thing, but vetting a potential CEO for your company? Whoa, that's a super deep dive into their entire financial and professional life. The stakes are just so much higher, so the investigation is more intense. And yeah, the price reflects that.
Okay, so we know the costs, but how do these investigators actually charge you? And probably more importantly, how do you avoid getting scammed? This next part is absolutely crucial for protecting yourself and your wallet. You've probably seen them online, right? These ads that promise the world for unbelievably low prices. It's really tempting, I get it. But it definitely begs the question, why are they so cheap?
So here's the real talk. If a price seems way too good to be true, like let's say under 10,000 shillings, it almost certainly is. A professional PI is licensed and uses legal methods. A low-cost operator? They might be unlicensed, use illegal tactics that could land you in trouble, or even worse, just take your money and disappear. It's a huge gamble.
Reputable investigators in Kenya are pretty consistent. They usually use one of 3 pricing models. You'll see fixed pricing for straightforward jobs like background checks. Then there are the daily rates, which are standard for things like surveillance. And for those really complex, long-term cases like fraud, they'll quote you a project-based price. What you probably won't see is hourly billing for fieldwork. That's just not very common here.
All right, you are now armed with the cost breakdown, and you know the red flags to watch for. So let's wrap this up with a super practical checklist that'll help you choose the right professional for the job. Before you sign on any dotted line, you have to run through this list. Number 1, verify their experience. Ask for proof. 2, get everything in writing, no verbal agreements. 3, ask to see a sample report so you know what you're getting. 4, if court is a possibility, make sure they know their way around legal evidence. And 5, probably the most important one, they have to guarantee absolute, total confidentiality. So let's just boil this all down into a quick budgeting guide. For your basic checks, you should plan on spending somewhere between 20 and 50,000 shillings. If you're dealing with surveillance or matrimonial issues, you're more likely in the 60 to 200,000 range. And for the really heavy-duty stuff, fraud or forensics, your budget needs to start at 150,000 shillings minimum.
You know, this quote really hits the nail on the head. You're not just paying someone to dig up dirt. You're paying for information that can actually stand up to scrutiny, that's legally defensible. That's the real value, and that's what separates a pro from an amateur. And that brings us right back to our first question, but now you have a totally new perspective. Now that you have a realistic idea of the cost, you can ask yourself again, what is the truth really worth? Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.